On my way to get Ava Lily. I'm glad I set an alarm. Not that I would have forgot, but I'm glad I set an alarm. Oh, she's going to be mad when she sees Starbucks. She's been at camp for a week. No phones. And she has this little snap thing where she's got like Snapchat with her friends, and every day they take a picture and they snap it back and forth. And she had like a 200-day thing going with her friends. And she asked Ollie to do it for her. He forgot. First day. It's over. It's over. So she's got no Starbucks, no phone. She's going to be a little cranky when she gets in the car, I think. Especially with the heat she said to endure. She is literally going to look like a POW when she gets in this car. Wooden cabin with like 4 girls for a week. No cell phones in this day and age. And just scorching heat. I got home last night, and from the thunderstorm or something, the air conditioner must have tripped. If you're used to having air conditioning and then you're gone for 10 hours and it goes off, that's not a cool feeling when you get home. That's a brutal feeling when you get home. My God. I was 2:30 in the morning. I was down in the basement trying to read the thing and flick the breaker. At least a 5% chance I was going to burn the house down. Well, I don't know how to flip. I've seen people do it. Hey, I'm going to go flip the breaker. All right, cool. What's that mean? Now, obviously I knew. My dad had an old farmhouse. You know, he had the gray panel thing. He flipped it, whatever. This is a bigger panel. It's a bigger house. So I'm looking. It said air conditioning unit. It's got to be it. Flip off. Flip on. And there was life. I could hear something fire up. So at that point, I thought, I've done as much as I can do. I've gone the distance. This is all I got. So I go back to bed, and I woke up, and it was tolerable in the house. My goodness, you get home from Scioto, and as soon as you open the door, you have that air conditioning, it just hits you, and you're like, but when you don't get that feeling, because it's 81 degrees in your house, and you're expecting it to be 70, not cool. So, didn't do a whole lot of sleeping last night. I was fine. I was up late anyway, thinking about a million things. When we have a night where the horses are just kind of flat, and that would be the word of the day, flat. You're left wondering why. What happened? Spitfire felt like he was spinning his wheels a bit. He was out of gear a little bit, but he's done that before. And his line looks okay, but his line does not do the race justice. He didn't race that good. He was flat. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You know, I originally wanted to do this video on the way here because I wanted to update everybody on, Bath. Oh, we're in Bath. I wanted to update everybody on the Diosa Deladanza. You know, so Trevor Smith, his family, and Trent Stoller, those people, they bred Diosa Deladanza. Sold her, and he from time to time will ask me, how's she doing? You know, she knew she qualified her first start good, and then he said, you know, how was she after that? I said, she was second in 53 the other day. He goes, what? I said, yeah. He goes, she put anything in her mouth? Actually, Chris Page was the one that asked me that. I said, yeah, because he watched the qualifier where she ran off on me. I said, yes, we did. She's fine. He said, was she jumping over stuff? I said, she skipped over something coming to the 3/8, but she was good. He said, well, that's good. Good luck with her. I said, yeah, thank you. And then Chris Page come up a couple of races later. He goes, the Sippin' on Sea Rock for the Dancing Yankee filly, you bringing her down for the next generation? I said, I fully planned to. They didn't fill it. So what do you mean? It didn't fill. I thought they would put it on Facebook and Twitter and Preferred and On Gate and just fill it. It didn't happen. He said, well, that's weird. I said, yeah, I thought it was weird too. But he goes, I actually can't believe that. I said, yeah, well, that's just the way it is. I guess what are you going to do? Now, it frustrates me because Diosa Deladanza is dual eligible. 2 weeks ago, I could have had her. Her second start could have been the first elimination, the first division in Kentucky. Right? So she could have been. Second one's coming up on the 7th. Finals on the 14th. That's the day on either side of the first sire stake race. So, Dave, one of our good clients, been with us a long time, sharp guy. He said, Anthony, I heard you say that, but why can't she go down there? I said, well, it's a great question, Dave. The reason being, I don't want to ship all the way down to the Devil's Armpit, 9 hours away. It is hot. Think of the hottest day this week, wherever you were. Think of the hottest day this week. And that is how it was. That is how it is every day at Oak Grove. So I said, hey, it's not the end of the world, but shipping her down there 9 hours to race in the second elimination, which is going to be tough enough to begin with, to race in the third elimination, which is going to be tough enough to begin with. Thank you. He's a big, busy pickup area. It just makes little sense. She's got a long career ahead of her, and to force that upon her in her first few starts, that might be a bit much. And we've had a few dancing Yankees. Most of them ended up on Lasix. I don't want to poke the bear. I don't want to ship her down there, put her in a spot where she very likely could bleed, and then hope she didn't. A lot of these 2-year-olds, I didn't report it the other day. Megan's lucky day. Everybody wondering why was she a little flat? Was she a little flat? Yep, she bled 2.5 out of 5. Not a lot of mucus or pimples. So she's going on the Lasix program. So out of the 40-some babies we have, most of them qualified now. We have 3 that are going to start their careers on Lasix. Well, 2 that already did. No, Millie Girl's going to race next week. She qualified on it, though. It happens. And we do the best we can to combat that. But that would be the opposite of taking her down there, stretching her out, knowing they already went in 53 down there anyway. And somebody said, well, Oak Grove's fast. It's not like the Meadows is slow. So I just thought, you know what? We have a long life with this filly. It felt like the square peg in the round hole type thing. It just wasn't proper. It doesn't feel right. So we're not going to. We'll wait for her first sire stake race. She got lots of racing this year. We don't need to force that upon her. But it's a great question, though. And don't think it didn't go through my head, because it did. It just didn't feel right. So that was the Diosa Deladanza episode. I just disappointed that they didn't fill that race. But that's the way it goes. Now, yesterday, I feel when I look down the list, the only horse that I think truly, well, 2, that truly raced strongly, Sweet Lake and 3 Point Blue Chip. 3 Point Blue Chip was off a month. I put him in the spot I wanted to be in the first turn. I just did not want to get underway at the quarter pole or just past it. I wanted to be out at the half, right? I wanted to let him just relax for a half a mile. I just couldn't move him where I did. And where I got him out, I didn't want to force him left. If you watch him coming out of the last turn, you see him touch himself. He'll hit himself, get out of gear. I didn't want to force him left. I wanted to go right. There was just no vacancy there. So that's what happened with 3 Point. But raced good. Strong going under the wire. And if we take him back down to that class next week, he'll win, I believe. Just wasn't quite ready to do what we needed him to do when we needed him to do it last night. Had he been tight, ready to go, I could have just floated him out. That's where I wanted to be, second over behind the 4. But it just didn't work out that way. Now, we'll rewind to the start of the night. Sweet Lake, raced tremendous. And the thing about Sweet Lake is, when you race these babies, you want them to be good. Qualified 27 at the end of it, 27 at the end of it, 57. You're like, oh, good. Can she pace 54? Certainly can. And I had a number of people message me and said, Anthony, what happened getting into the last turn? Oh my God. Never seen her do that. Just like 100 times training down. Like 100 times. Realistically, how many times have I seen her do that very same thing? 16 times, probably. It's when she switches leads, getting into the last turn, she gets out of gear, comes close to crossfiring, does that just scare her a little bit? Last week, she put a mark on her left knee. Is that what's causing it? I don't know. We have knee boots on her. She did run down a little bit right hind last night. I don't know where that came from. Why would a 2-year-old run down there? We can add a little borium to her hind shoe. If she shouldn't be running down. She doesn't have long pasterns. She doesn't have that long slopey gait where you'd say, oh yeah, she could. No, I was a little surprised with that. But before you say, well, that's clearly what happened, hold the phone. As I said, she's done that like 16 times before, maybe more, and never ran down. So I don't think it was either of the first two. I think it's a combination of just growing up, maturing, maybe a few little aches and pains. But again, if she's done it before, this isn't new. This isn't a new thing. And if you're not really sure if I'm telling you the truth, just go back and watch the videos. Go back and watch, just pick any 5 training sets where Sweet Lake was in it over the last 3 months, and you will see her do that exact same move. Well, a number of times. She did it on Eric, she done it on Jason McGinnis, Tyler. Anybody that's ever gone with her has experienced that. So I wasn't really shocked when she did it. I saw it coming. You could see her kind of drift out and take a run at the turn and switch her leads. You can't see all this, but I'm telling you that's what she was doing. She was going to accelerate into the turn, and when she did, at a gear, but it might look unsightly. But I knew it was coming, and I wasn't surprised nor shocked nor worried at any point. She just keep the bit in her mouth, let her work her way through it, scoot through the inside. What I was surprised with was that big pop she had on the end of it. Paced as hard as she could, right through the wire. 54, 27 and 2, 27 and 1 on the end of it. 54 and 2, 3, something like that. But a big mile from her, and thoroughly pleased with the output from Sweet Lake last night. So she races next Saturday. Her, Waney, and Millie Girl will race in the Stallion Series event. I'm not going to put Sweet Lake in the Sire Stakes. That's just a little unfair to her. There's 20 fillies probably that can do what she did right now, and I don't want to hook on to 12 of them next week. You know, and I know for sure there's going to be somebody going 51 or 52 next week at the Meadows. I just don't want to stretch Sweet Lake like that, so I'll probably start her in the Stallion Series. We ever paid into a number of stake races, so I'm not really that worried about it. So aside from 3 Point Blue Chip and her, everybody else was kind of flat. Looks like Money, it was boiling hot, and he hasn't been shipping the greatest. Now, he didn't do anything wrong last night, but a little flat. Now they went in 52, 51 off a pretty soft half, and those are good horses. I think he should have been a little more competitive. I suspect it probably was the heat, probably being off a week. Yeah, both. You got to remember, everybody just thinks because he's racing great and he's doing great that you don't have to treat him like a normal horse. He still has to be tight, right? He still has to be ready to go. He still has to get over the track well. Of course, I got to pick my daughter up. It's pouring rain. See if it blows over. But he looked good. He raced good. He traveled 53 and 2, 28 and 1 on the end of it. That's pretty much him in a nutshell. It's good enough to get the job done at the Meadows. It's good enough to get a check most nights at Scioto. And somebody else messaged me saying, maybe just don't bring him down there. Guys, you really have to understand, you just can't cookie cutter your way through the season. You can't just say, we're just going to race the Meadows. When they're not racing, we're going to give him time. No problem. We'll put him in and he'll get his face smashed in. You have to still race at a top level. You still have to race. You can't have massive gaps in their schedule. What you're going to find is he's going to come back and be 4th, then he's going to be 5th, then he's going to be 3rd. He might hook a 2nd, then he's going to be 4th again, and then I'm going to get emails from you saying, Anthony, what happened? It looks like Money. He just doesn't seem as good as he was before. No, we broke up his schedule, assumed that he was bionic, and shockingly he's not. That's what's going to happen. So we're not giving him giant breaks. If he has to go race somewhere, then he'll have to race somewhere. Same as we did at Northfield, and that ended up a lot better. Maybe next time we go to Northfield, let the other horses go down to Scioto. It's a possibility also. But we're not going to give him big breaks, right? I talked about this the other day. You got to make hay when the sun shines. It's raining more now. It's actually the opposite of what I thought would happen. Give it another 3 minutes. So it looks like money was a little bit flat. Simply Chaotic, his line looks good, but to me, moved him getting into the last turn. You know, here's a horse. I know that, you know, Simply Chaotic, they're putting weight on him, so they're not drilling on him right now, and he is putting weight on. So in that regard, that's good. We have all season to have him tight. But it just looked to me like he was just a step behind those horses. It could be because he's not as good as those horses. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. But I thought he was, you know, a half move in the last turn, and then they trotted away from him. They went 56. He's not ready to go there. Trotted 58 last quarter, 29-4. I guess on paper that's where he was ready to go, but he looked present to me. No mucus, small amount of mucus. Any horse you scope in this weather, you're going to see a little bit of mucus, but no blood, so that's good. Texong Soprano, you know, he's drawn the outside so many times this year. I think he's figured it out. Scotty's driving me. I got the 7 hole. He's going to take me back. I'm going to try and get a 5. If I don't, there's next week. I think that's pretty much how it went. And it's certainly not Scotty's fault. He owns the horse, too. Big owner in the horse. You can't just leave Yonkers. It's a graveyard from out there. Don't even bother. Don't even think about being a hero from post 7 or 8. You're just going to get chewed into the ground. So, draw the outside. You're going to have to take your lumps. We were lucky enough to snag a 5th the last 2 times he drew the outside. But not so much last night. So we talked about Sweet Lake. She was great. Simply Chaotic. A little flat. Or it could just be that they were that much better. They did go in 56. Texong Soprano. Tiny bit flat. Looks Like Money. Tiny bit flat. And then 3-point blue chip race good. I was hopeful going into the last race, and I know the line looks good on Spitfire, but he also was a tiny bit flat. Now, I did this video a moment ago. I got 6 minutes into it, and Jason called. I was waiting for that call because I'd asked them to text me last night. They didn't. I just assumed I'd run into him today, which I will. And I asked him, I said, hey, he goes, a Spitfire full of mucus and a 1 and a 5 for blood. Well, obviously the mucus caused the blood. So we know that, and that's how he drove. I pulled up, I said, I know this horse bled. I'm sure he did. He said, just scope him and let me know. And sure enough, now, if he just said 3 and a 5 for blood, I'd be like, ooh, that's not good. 1 and a 5 for blood when he's, as the vet said, chocked full of mucus. And before you say, well, how didn't you notice? I looked right at his nose 5 seconds after the race, 5 minutes after the race, before I walked away. So I was talking to Jason and Lauren, and Jason Merriman's there last night too. All those guys didn't get home till like 2 o'clock probably. I was talking to them all last night, and I'm looking at Spitfire. He doesn't look overly stressed, and there is no mucus in his nose. So this must be all down deep, and it didn't even get a chance to get up yet. He was sick, a little bit. So he'll probably miss this week, I guess, as we try to get him back in action. Mechanically normal for him, bumpy at a gear, just no power. Flat. The word of the night last night, flat. And that's what he was. So, nobody was horrible. Nobody was bad. Just a step off. Sweet Lake was great. His 3-point blue chip was as good as I asked him to be. If I could have got a better trip with him, maybe if I'd let Chris in the first turn and followed them third over, maybe then I would have been fine. But where I sat him down going into the first turn in behind the horse I wanted to follow, I just couldn't get him going that early. It just made no sense to me. So he stayed in. Forced him left coming in the last turn. I'm sure he hit himself. We'll see how that lag looks today. But you're never going to stop him from doing it. You just want to mitigate it. I think we have him shod good. I was happy with what he did last night. As I said, him and Sweet Lake were the 2 freshest lags. The 2 freshest horses on the end of the mile for us. The rest of the horses were just present. So that's today in a nutshell. I'm on my way. Hopefully it's not raining at Northfield. I'm going to pick up Ava right now. And then I am going to... and then I'm going to go train Nassau. And that's pretty much it for the day for me until tonight racing. So that is today in a nutshell. I will talk to you all very soon. I hope you are having a great weekend. I know yesterday wasn't awesome. It wasn't horrible. None of the horses were horrible. We do got some shots today. Rose Run AJ, this will be his last start for us. As you know, he's in the sale. He's picked to win in the consolation of the Bar Harbor Racing Pacing Series. Gorgeous package, finally in a great spot tonight. The condition claimer, Freedom Hill, is in a great spot. Solidarity scratched, as you know. He bled the other day. We got to get to the bottom of that. Oh, the parents are going up. Gymboree and Rock Shining Star. Take care. I will talk to you all very soon for the rest of the weekend. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.